Hey, this is Bobby Joe Nelson.
Hi, I'm Sarah Nelson.
And I'm Heath Morris.
This broadcast is brought to you by EDM 310. Thank you for joining us today. We will be discussing Chapter 9 of Rafe Esquith's Teach Like Your Hair is on Fire.
We begin with a question and answer session with Bobby Joe and Heath. What are reasons why we should have children participate in arts?
I think there are a few reasons why children should participate in arts. Firstly, it promotes, conversation. It promotes socialization, and also it promotes confidence. When kids are not just doing academics all the time and they're talking to each other and they're conversing, this, helps them to get out of this little cliques that they seem to grow up and have, and it's more of a classroom environment. And this also makes it easier to learn this, and this makes them want to pretty much feel at ease, and they feel like they can are in a better learning environment. This also engages them whenever they have subjects that are brought up in class. They don't feel like that they have to be quiet and not ask questions, but they're more engaged, more involved, and more active in wanting to learn. So,
Mr. Esquith points out in his book that as a green teacher, he got jealous of the time that the students spent out of his actual classroom and in with the arts. But he soon realized that those students that had these other activities had better grades. It's not that they were missing out on the class time, they were making up for it and exceeding their expectations.
yeah.
Sounds good. When producing a show and performance, why is it important for it to be all about the children?
I think the fact that it's all about the children is a big part of it, because a lot of times you see teachers that they wanted their big chance whenever they were young, and their teacher kind of squashed their dreams, so they're trying to make up for what they missed. And they'll a lot of times you'll see them try to take over the performance and pretty much take the children's spotlight, whenever in the fact of the matter is all the parents and everybody that came to see the show didn't come to see the teacher do their piece. They came to see their child. And I mean, they don't really want to come see them do it for 2 seconds, whenever they realize that their child has the capability of doing the entire show. In high school in men's chorus, I had a teacher who was really good at that. He always would let us sing and wouldn't even, like whenever we went to bow, he would always turn around and wouldn't even bow. He would point directly to us and say, this is who y'all should be clapping for, not for me. So, he's somebody that I always really remember for that, and he was really good about it.
That's a very good point. You've put all this time into the children. It should be about them and not the teachers. Because, we know the teachers have coached them, but let the children shine for this one night. It's okay.
Very nice. Based on a student's performance, should the teacher take full responsibility?
I feel like that there are instances where it can be either way. A lot of times teachers want to think that, they have taught it in the best possible method that they can teach it in, so if the student didn't learn it, then it's on them, and it's their fault. So as teachers, we need to be more open to the fact that different children have different cognitive processes. They have different learning abilities, and whenever some child is not learning something, it might not necessarily be because he's not trying. It's because, he is trying, he just doesn't understand the way that you're teaching it. So we as teachers need to look into different methods and look into ways that we can expand our different styles and different strategies before we even walk into the classroom, so that we can achieve a better overall learning environment for our children. And this would help them get more engaged, more involved in the classroom, thus, making them feel, a little more at ease whenever they're trying to learn things. Another thing is sometimes it is on the student, and teachers just have to push them. And if parent conferences and things like that are an option, then that is an option. But you never know what their home what their home life is like. So you have to take a lot of things into consideration whenever you think about why the child's not learning, why they're not responding to what's going on in the class. So these are a few things to think about. Another thing to think about is a lot of times kids at that age, they're interested and they're always asking questions, and their parents aren't going to give them the answers, and they come to look to you for answers. So kids that are, a lot of times you might think they're chattery and they're talking, they won't be quiet. Well, of course, at that age, they're always curious. So that's actually a good thing. That's not something that you want to look at as a bad thing and trying to get them to be quiet the whole time. You want them to talk up, and you want them to ask questions because they're curious and they want to know how things work in the world.
Full responsibility would be too strong. Each child is different, so you need to look at each child within their own perspective and see what you're doing with them and how you can do more or less with them and let the student take over. But it's all going to be based on each student. Chapter 9 was about embracing the arts and implementing them into your classroom and how that affects the children. So we take you to Heath in the Art Corner.
Hey everybody, this is Heath in the Art Corner. We have a couple art projects that we're going to look at from Chapter 9 out of Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. The first one that really stood out to me was the Halloween masks, because it incorporates, as said in the book, a lot of care and things that, a lot of care, but not only care, but patience and with other students. Like, in order to do this, you don't just sit down at your desk and draw, a art project. You don't just draw a picture. You're actually hands-on with other students. You're learning what caring is, and you're going to try to pretty much slow things down. They start out by doing this project for Halloween masks by taking basically medical bandages that harden. It's kind of like the material that you would use on a cast. You would dip it in water, and then after you dip it in water, it's still going to be soft, but I'm sure most of you have had a cast on before, and if you haven't, as they wrap it on you, it slowly hardens. So first, they're going to take the student's face, get them to lie down on their back, and as they lie down on their back, they're going to cover their whole face with Vaseline, because when it hardens, you don't want it to be stuck on their hairs, on their eyebrows, or anything like that. So the best thing to do is, let your students do that. You show them an example, but after you show them an example, you let them do it, and they'll realize, as they work in teams, that, teamwork's important, that one person's going to be putting the stuff on, one person's going to be dipping, another person's going to be checking to make sure that they're breathing and that everything's okay. And I really like this one because it really does incorporate a lot of teamwork, and it really does show you, that students can work well together and that they can come up with something great. Another thing that's really cool about this project is it's very personalized, because of course everybody's going to have a different mask. Nobody's just going to look the same, and then on top of that, you get to paint it. So aside from it having a different facial feature, you're going to have your own bit of creativity that's in it, and having a child be creative is another great way to get them engaged in the classroom and really see them come out as who they are and let other people experience who they are. And I think that's a really important part of the teaching environment. Another project that I found pretty interesting is the David Hockney self-portraits, and that's where they actually take six different pictures of themselves, and one of them smiling, one serious, plain, silly, and pictures of them looking right and left. And they actually take and cut out these pictures into different shapes, whatever that they would want to do with them, and put them all in together to create one self-portrait. So that in this, not only do you see the different sides of their face, different pictures, it's not like one just self-portrait, one drawing, you only get one look at that person, such as the Mona Lisa. You look at it and you just think, okay, that's the only thing that I would see that. Of these children, you would have tons of different outlooks on them, and not only that, but you would see the outlooks on how they prepared the picture, how they cut it up. Did they cut it like in a perfect square? Did they do it in like squiggly lines? It kind of shows their personality and their creativity into it. So I really like this project, and it doesn't involve as much teamwork as the other one, but it does show a little bit more creativity and a little bit more of their side and what's going on in their mind.
Thanks, Heath. I would just like to point out, as an older than these two guys, that during my school years, I did witness what Mr. Esquith talks about. When we were younger, we started out with all these extra classes, but as we got older, they were taken away from us, so to speak. And so by the time we got to high school, it was just our core classes and a few electives that we got to pick from. So to encourage you future teachers to talk to your administration and to encourage your students in the arts, regardless of how much time or effort it will take you.
All right, thank you everybody for listening to our podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to contact us via email or Twitter, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.